Hey guys, this is Himanshu back with part 2 of the optional series. And if you have not seen that part 1, please go and watch, and please try to come in sequence. Otherwise, there is no use of watching these videos. And let's move ahead with this part 2. And basically, in this part, we will be going through this concept to be covered in this part is unwrapping. When is unwrapping required? Different ways of declaration of an optional variable. Difference between the two ways of declaration of optional variable. If possible, if I feel some more concepts are required, then I'll add at the end of the video. It even though it is not written over here. Okay, so let's move. Let's see what is unwrapping. Okay, let me declare a variable x again, same with integer type, and I will say the value is 6. Now what I will do is I'll say let m is equal to x plus 6. I'll try to do this. One more thing, see, I've declared this variable x here, and I'm using another variable m here and trying to do all these things. Even I can use these things directly here also, no problem, not a issue. Okay, so no problem in doing that. So anywhere you can write. Okay, don't think on these things much. Okay, so let's move ahead. So let m is equal to x plus 6. So it is asking like value of optional int must be unwrapped to a value of type int. Okay, so it's basically it's asking to unwrap. So using exclamation I can unwrap that. Now let's understand what is unwrapping actually. So as I told you earlier, whatever value we are going to store inside an optional variable, that value will be stored inside a pair of brackets inside that variable, and that is called as wrapping. I mean, storing that variable, storing that value inside a pair of brackets inside the variable is called wrapping. So this is what they have wrapped the value. You can see here in the console they have wrapped this value with this uh, pair of brackets. Okay, now what I was trying to do here is I have written let m is equal to x plus 6. So what I am trying to do here is I am trying to add 6 with x. Now what is x? X is let it make this 9, then it will be much more easier. So right now inside x a wrapped value is there, 6 is there, but it is inside a pair of brackets, so we cannot add both of these things. Okay, because that is not accessible now, so we have to unwrap that just to make it accessible. So the way uh, to unwrap is just use exclamation mark so that it will be unwrapped. Now this bracket has been removed. If you use this exclamation, now 6 plus 9 we can add it easily, not an issue. And I'll just print the value. So we got the value. So this is what unwrapping is. To access the value, we have to remove the brackets, and that process is called unwrapping, and that is done using exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. So one more thing. So why we are unwrapping? Just to access the value. And why do you need to access the value? Just to add add that value with 9. So when we are supposed to unwrap an optional value, like if you are printing, okay, I will give you one more example, like print x, then it will not ask you to unwrap just because you are printing. So for printing you are not supposed to unwrap optional variable. Rather than that, whatever you are doing, like using those values, using that optional variable inside any expression, or trying to do anything else, then you are supposed to unwrap that value. That is compulsory, otherwise that value is not accessible. So that is why unwrapping is required, and using exclamation you can do that. So that is what unwrapping is all about, just removing the brackets. Now next is, when is unwrapping required? I already told you, rather than printing whatever you are trying to do, you are trying, if you are trying to perform any operation with that optional variable or anything, or you want to access that value inside that, then you are supposed to unwrap. You can say uh, except printing, whatever is the scenario, mostly everywhere we need to unwrap. Okay, now I'll talk about the different ways of declaration of an optional variable. So let's move into that. So now this is one way, using question mark. The other way is let y integer, and I will use exclamation while declaring that. Now I will say y is 12. So these are the two I mean method one is using exclamation, method one is using question mark, method two is using exclamation. So basically there is only one difference between these two methods, and that is, if you are using a question mark while declaration, then the unwrapping will be done using a exclamation mark, and that has to be done by programmer whenever it is required. Okay, but if you are declaring a optional variable in this way using exclamation mark, then the whenever it is unwrapping is required for this variable, then it will be done by the compiler automatically. You don't have to take care of that unwrapping. So that is the only difference between these two. Now let's understand this thing with the help of example. I'll say x plus 30. So x we have declared is using a question mark, so we have to unwrap this. So now this is going to work. It's a 36. Okay, now if I use y, it will not ask me to unwrap, directly it gives the output, just because compiler is going to unwrap it automatically. So difference is, this is manual unwrapping, this is automatic unwrapping. Remember one more thing, unwrapping here in this case will only be done whenever it is required. It won't unwrap whenever it is not required. Like just printing the value, there unwrapping is not required, so it is not going to unwrap this. See, print y, it prints optional 12. Okay, so that's what the difference between these two things. And one more thing is difference between the two ways of declaration of optional variable. So that's what everything is covered here.